Hey guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. I know I'm behind on a lot of videos. I do apologize. There is more content coming, I assure you. I just need more hours in the day to get to it all. Now, with that being said, there is one topic that we kind of have to discuss, and it's almost like if you know the wonderful Matrix analogy, the splinter in the brain analogy. I do want to talk about this. I want to tread very carefully here. Obviously, I want to talk about this from an unbiased standpoint. So I'm just giving you what I think, what my thoughts are, what my feelings are on this is kind of irrelevant. And I want to make that very clear right from the get-go. I'm not trying to upset anybody. I'm not trying to sway anybody on these talking points. I'm just going to go in. I'm going to give you my analysis of the situation and where I think things are going to go. And then we're going to go from there. So in case you guys are not aware, in case some of you have been living under a proverbial rock the last few days, it would appear that WATA Games is potentially going to be in the crosshairs of a class action lawsuit. Now, I'm not going to go into details on the exact post that premiered on Reddit about this. I'm not going to even name the lawyer or the law firm in question here. I just want to give you my thoughts on this. I want to have a candid discussion. And I want to tell you why I don't think this is going to go the way a lot of you think it's going to go. And that's where I think my analysis is going to upset some of you. Because since the beginning of this channel, I have been banging my fists on this wonderful table here, talking about market manipulation in the antiques and collectibles trade. And I feel very strongly about it. But at the end of the day, what is it that I always tell you guys? These are unregulated markets. And I give you examples in other collecting categories. I even give you examples in finance. Like if you go back, you look at what happened during the dot-com bubble that pretty much launched pets.com, gardens.com, eToys, all these crazy companies that were selling for high valuations and pretty much how the bubble dissipated. And there were some lawsuits filed that most went nowhere. Others, yeah, there were settlements, but nothing spectacular came of them. And then we also talk on this channel, of course, the great coin collecting bubble boom in the 1980s that lasted in the 1990s with PCGS and NGC at the forefront of coin grading. And it was discovered that that market was being propped up by market makers, market manipulators, and even certain quote-unquote evil Wall Street investment firms. Well, when that bubble burst, obviously, the FTC got right involved. There were lawsuits filed. There were settlements. There was a whole ton of shenanigans going on when that particular market bubble popped. Now, a lot of you are reaching out to me saying, well, Sean, it happened with coins. Now it's going to happen with graded video games. You were right, my man. It's going to all be the end. The bubble's going to pop. The market's going to pretty much crater. And a lot of these companies, I'm trying not to name them, you know who I mean, they're going to go under. And they're going to end up having to pay massive amounts of fines. Certain individuals are going to get charged. And people are reaching out to me, and they're sending me 3 paragraphs where it's all about how all this is going to end now that a potential class action suit is going to be taken against WATA Games. Now, to be fair, as of the recording of this video, to my knowledge, no lawsuits have been filed. I want to make that very clear. Well, there's something else that you guys got to understand. Honestly, I think all that's a load of BS. I don't think anything like that is going to happen. Because, yes, there are similarities, and I got to tread carefully here. I should say there are alleged similarities between what happened in the 1980s and 90s with coin grading and that whole bubble, and now what's happening with certain collecting markets. Let me word it that way, okay? Now, this is what you need to understand, though. If you're a collector, if you're a speculator, if you're an investor, whether you're pro-graded video games, pro-WATA, non-pro graded video games, against WATA, whatever side of the fence you're on, maybe you're somewhere in the middle, maybe you're neutral, maybe you don't care, maybe you just like having an intellectual analysis, and that's why you're watching this video right now. Let me explain something to you. There are differences here as well. In the year 2022, the public sentiment towards any type of market regulation is pretty much negative. It's nil at present time. This is not the 1980s anymore. In the 1980s, when Reagan came in, you guys, I'm going to get a little bit political here. One of the reasons that I don't like Ronald Reagan, I am on the left side of the political equation. Okay, you guys can judge me all you want in that. This is true, though, what I'm about to say. Ronald Reagan worked very hard to pretty much cater to certain elite corporations to change the way over the next few decades how the general public views market regulation. And he and the rest of the Republican Party was very successful in that analysis. So where I'm going at with this, whether you're on the left, whether you're on the right, whether you're neutral or completely apolitical, you got to understand that in the year 2022, people, especially young people, for the most part, they do not think negatively about unregulation the way that people did back in the 1980s. So we are in a completely different political and economic environment, okay? Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. If you don't know where I'm going with that, those of you that are fans of that particular work of fiction, which I hope stays a work of fiction, but if you are a fan of that particular book, you already understand that in the year 2022, Ayn Rand is more popular now than she ever was back in the 60s, 70s, and even 80s. That mindset is already out there in the general public. If you don't believe me, look at the way Elon Musk is viewed. I do not like Elon Musk. There's a lot of people, I guarantee it, just by me saying that. If this video were to go viral, there would be people coming into the comment section go, I love Elon Musk is my favorite billionaire. That's what people would be saying. I do not like the guy because he's very manipulative. He knows what he's doing. He knows that when he puts out a tweet or when he says something, it's going to have a certain impact. And he's very good at game theory. If you don't know what game theory is, he knows how to play the public's perception of him and his business pursuits. That's all I'm going to say in that. Now, where else am I going with this? Besides the fact that the topic of unregulation, or I should say the topic of deregulation, is very popular right now, you also got to understand that when we look at the market for graded video games, to what happened back in the 1980s with collectible coins, there are other fundamental differences. Yes, it's true. Both markets were alleged. I'm going to use that term here because, again, there's no evidence of wrongdoing in a court of law, so I'm going to use the term alleged to be manipulated. But the one thing that a lot of you guys are getting wrong is back in the 1980s, you had well-financed people on Wall Street that were pretty much cold calling their clients on Main Street USA, telling them, hey, Joe Schmo, understand you live on Main Street USA. Did you know we have an opportunity here where you can invest in rare coins, you can invest in artwork, you can invest in antiques. It's called the Merrill Lynch Athena Fund. And you already have $200,000 worth of assets with us. If you wanted to go into this particular fund over here and diversify your holdings to rare coins, antiquities, artwork, and the like, I would strongly recommend that. And Joe Schmo said, this is great. I now have access to what the big boys on Wall Street are investing in, even though he knows nothing about those markets. So what was happening was the Wall Street firm would tell their brokers, you need to call your clients, you need to get them to invest in this, and we're going to pay you a commission to do that. That's what was happening back in the 80s. With graded video games, that didn't happen, guys. All of you out there that own graded video games right now, you own them because of your own accord. Maybe you did go on a collecting forum, and maybe you got caught up into the hype, and maybe, yeah, you overpaid for some of the games that were first graded, that now more came out of the woodwork, which if you watch this channel, I told you that was going to happen, and prices fell on some of them. Maybe you got lucky, you went after a game, and it's still selling for the same price you paid for it, or it went up a little bit in value. That's market risk. The difference is, though, guys, and this is what a lot of you are not thinking about, everybody that is pretty much buying and collecting graded video games right now is either a collector, speculator, or investor in that market. Nobody cold called them and said, hey, Joe Schmo, you need to put your money in graded video games. Well, back in the 1980s, that's exactly what happened. That's why the FTC got involved. Now, full disclosure, if any of these allegations that I have talked about on this channel in the form of market manipulation, that Carl Jobst had talked about in the video that I was also part of, that Pat the NES Punk or any other YouTuber has talked about out there, if they are true, I do hope that the FTC will get involved and take an active stance one way or another. And if it isn't the FTC, some type of government body needs to get in and do something to correct that particular market. However, do I think that is going to happen? The answer is 100% no. Now, another thing that we got to talk about is, keep in mind, guys, this is a class action lawsuit, or I should say potentially is a class action lawsuit. Because again, I got to repeat this. As of the filming of this video, to my knowledge, no lawsuit has been filed as of yet. So therefore, if we look at this from the standpoint of a court of law, WATA Games is 100% innocent until proven guilty. And I want to make that very clear as somebody who just wants to stay neutral out of this whole thing. I'm just telling you right now, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. Well, if we go back to what happened with Merrill Lynch and the Athena Fund and all their investments in rare coins, antiquities, and artwork, are you aware they pretty much settled out of court and admitted no wrongdoing? Now, do you see where I'm going with this? It's very easy if you have the backing of a major grading company because you maybe sold the company to a very large grading company at present time who has probably hundreds of millions of dollars out there in assets. It's very easy to admit no wrongdoing, write a big check, and make the whole thing go away. You got to understand, guys, that's the most likely outcome in this. I cannot see if there really is a lot of evidence that is put together that can be proven. I don't know why any company that has the means to settle it would say, okay, let's fight it in court and let's let all that evidence come into the forefront and say, you know what? Let's let everybody have a look at all this evidence and all the parties involved. I cannot see that happening. So I just wanted to do this video. And again, there's probably going to be a follow-up to this video. Make no mistake. But I just want to state, guys, from a neutral stance, you got to look at this through the lens that, in all honesty, yes, there are similarities to what is alleged to occur in this market compared to what happened back in the 80s with rare coins and other collecting categories that would be too long the list. This video would be an hour long if I went through them all. A lot of these markets are subject to manipulation, and also they're subject to investors coming in and pretty much taking control of the market. This is not uncommon in an unregulated market, especially one in the antiques and collectibles trade. But what you need to know is it wasn't like people were cold calling investors on Main Street telling them, you got to invest in graded video games. You got to invest in Mario, Sonic, Pokemon, pop culture collectibles. It's going to be the next big thing. You have $200,000 sitting here. Why don't you take $20,000, $40,000 and put it in graded video games? That didn't happen. That's not to say that it isn't possible that certain unethical, certain illegal things could have transpired. I don't know. But you need to understand that from the government's perspective, these are two different circumstances that are most likely going to be treated completely different. Now, could I, before I end this video, I just want to state this, could I be talking out my ass right now? Yeah, this whole thing could blow up. It could surprise even me. It could slap me in the face with a donut, and it could say, you know what? This is very serious. Yes, there is something that's coming to light. Yes, there's certain individuals that are looking into this, but in my opinion, from somebody who is not a lawyer. I want to make that very clear. I'm not educated in law, don't claim to be. I have dated a ton of lawyers, but I myself am not a lawyer. I will tell you, from someone who is educated in the antiques and collectibles trade and also business economics and finance, in my opinion, I don't think that this lawsuit, if it is filed, is going to go where a lot of you people that watch this channel want it to go for the most part. And I want to be very clear on that. I don't think this is the panacea that a lot of you guys are looking for. I think if anything, all that's going to happen is a lot of lawyers are going to get paid a lot of money out of this. And that's what concerns me, guys. And that is the problem that I have with a lawsuit like this. Usually I could be wrong, it benefits the attorneys most. And that's what scares me. The core crux of why the lawsuit is brought to the forefront in the first place is usually lost in translation when that happens. And that's why I hope I am dead wrong. But I don't think, as of yet, my opinion may change, that this is going to go where a lot of you guys want it to go if these alleged allegations are true. So let me leave it with that. And again, I'm not an attorney. This is just my opinion. And I do want to point out the main difference as to what happened back in the 1980s with the rare coin marketplace as to what happened allegedly with WATA Games. There were two differences there that needed to be looked at. Mainly, the average person got hurt who was not anywhere equipped to invest in rare coins. Whereas in the year 2020, 2021, 2022, the people that are investing in this, they're all collectors, speculators, and investors. I hope I'm wrong. We'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. Let me know your comments in the comment section below.